Good morning everyone and welcome to the Cabinet of Wednesday the 15th of September. As you all know, the meeting is taking place via Microsoft Teams and will be recorded and made available on the Council's website. Thank you very much. I'd just like to announce before I start the meeting that actually item number 9 is being deferred. So I just want to put that on record that item 9 is being deferred. Thank you. I need to find out if we've received any apologies. Do we have any apologies that we can record?
They're recorded in the chat, Leader.
They are fantastic. Sorry, Mark.
Chief Executive Christine Harry.
Thank you ever so much. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm Dave Street, who's on leave.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll move on to declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and/or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on the agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Does anyone have any? Lisa?
Thank you, Leader. I'd like to declare a personal and prejudicial interest in item number 6. I have a family member who works for the construction company referred to, so I'll be leaving the meeting for that item. Okay,
thank you ever so much, Lisa, and that's duly noted. Thank you. Okay, so to move on to item agenda number 3, and that is the minutes to approve the minutes of the Cabinet held on the 1st of September. I'll go through page by page to approve those in terms of accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. If everyone's happy, can I have a show of hands to approve those, please? Oh, do I need a mover and a seconder first?
Move.
Thank you. And you've all approved. Thank you. And if, show of hands again, please, for the record. Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone. On to item number 4, which is the Cabinet Forward Work Programme. As you know, we always have these at every council Cabinet meeting in order just to agree them in terms of accuracy and that we're still happy with those reports on the dates that have been detailed in the timetable. Is everyone happy with those? Yeah, if I can have a show of hands. Thank you, great. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on then to item number 5, and this is to receive the report on the Regeneration Board and the project proposals. If I can hand over to Councillor Stenner, please.
Thank you, Leader. The purpose of this report is to recommend to Cabinet the allocation of £130,000 to the Regeneration Project Board Development Fund towards 2 recently endorsed and evaluated project proposals. The first project is at Risca, the development of a strategic town centre site. The second project is at Bargoed and is the Empty Property Enforcement Action Plan. Also, Cabinet is requested to note that a further £1 million of development funding has been allocated to the Regeneration Board. The Regeneration Board has cross-party political representation of councillors and key officers. Since February 2019, numerous projects have been endorsed with financial assistance provided where necessary from the Regeneration Project Board Development Funds. The summary of the report details the sums allocated to the Regeneration Board, and this stands at £3.75 million, including the Licence to Innovate scheme. The request today, if approved, would leave an active overall regeneration development fund of circa £1.436 million and a balance of £209,000 in the Licence to Innovate fund. The recommendations are shown at 3.1 of the report. I move.
Thank you, Councillor Stenner. And if I can go to Councillor Whitcomb, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm more than happy to second a comprehensive report which indicates some very exciting projects. But as Councillor Stenner said, it is a cross-party group and it's important that we have membership from all political organisations and bodies within the council. So I so move at 3.1. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Whitcomb. And do any officers want to add anything further to reports in relation to that? Rhian, I'm looking at you now when I say that.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I just thought I'd give you a little bit more information really about the 2 projects. The first project that Councillor Stenner referred to is the proposal for a feasibility and master plan for a strategic site in the Risca Town Centre. Actually, it's the Ponty Mister End on the Southern Gateway. It's a brownfield site that's been left undeveloped for many years, and the viability of the scheme is very questionable, and it's very difficult site to redevelop. But it does form part of a series of projects that we're looking to put forward for the Levelling Up Fund next year. So this is the preparatory work really to get us ready to put forward a Levelling Up Fund bid to the UK government. It forms part of the 3 interlinked projects comprising Cwmcarn Forest, the canal, and then the town centre site, with a view to making the Risca Town Centre and Cwmcarn Forest and the canal more integrated and more attractive to tourism and to visitors. So that's the first project. It will form an integral part of the wider Newbridge to Risca master plan that we are preparing at the moment, and that'll be coming forward for your consideration shortly for going out to public consultation. So that's the first project. I just stopped there in case there's any questions on that one.
I haven't. It's not necessarily a question, Rhian, but it's around the fact that there was a great debate in the original conversations about the master plan that's currently being drawn up, and we talked about this site quite heavily, and I think everyone contributed to that conversation, and I think it's a really positive move on our behalf to, you know, to put that preparatory work, because this site, you know, having lived around this area for many years, and this is something I pass on a frequent basis, it'd be really good to see this area redeveloped and what have you. So this is a very positive piece of news. Okay, no one else is indicating.
And just to add to that, Leader, obviously the site is partly in council ownership and partly in private ownership, so we are in dialogue with the landowner on it as well, just for you to be aware.
Fantastic, thank you. Councillor George.
Oh, sorry, Leader, Rhian just answered my question about ownership.
Okay, thank you. I'll move on to the second proposal then. As you know, we monitor our town centres annually in terms of vacancy rates, and obviously the way we approach town centres moving forward as a consequence of the pandemic, we need to have a radical rethink of the way that we consider town centre redevelopment. Now, I think the general view is held that we're doing quite a lot of work in all of our town centres to ensure that they can bounce back after the pandemic. But I think it's fair to say that Bargoed, at all of our town centres, has the highest vacancy rate. And that's really because it's a traditionally very long town, as you know. It's got challenging topography, and as a consequence of major regeneration schemes done back in the early 2000s, the centre of the town shifted. So the focus of the town has moved slightly. So as a consequence, we have got quite a lot of empty properties now in the northern part of the town. So I put together a small working group to look at an enforcement action plan, which we'd survey of all of the town centres, not just Bargoed, but we thought it would be a good idea to focus on Bargoed in the first instance, because this is where the prevalence is of empty properties. We're doing a lot of work in the other towns anyway, in Caerphilly, in Blackwood and Ystrad, but they don't suffer from the high vacancy rates that Bargoed do. So that's why our focus is on Bargoed initially. So what we're proposing is to do a trial pilot, really, whereby we use incentives in terms of grant and funding to offer empty properties owners grants to try and improve their premises and upgrade them, so that they're more attractive to entrepreneurs to set up businesses in there. We're also looking at actively working with various partners around meanwhile uses, pop-up shops and all those sorts of things to bring properties back into beneficial use. But where we've got problematic landlords, and I mean by that absent landlords or landlords that are reluctant to undertake enhancements to their properties, we also have enforcement powers under our delegated powers under both planning legislation and building regulations legislation, whereby we can serve notices on premises to upgrade and enhance their properties where they're in disrepair. We've been reluctant to serve those notices to date because we don't have a budget. Because if we don't, if the landlords then don't do the works, we can go in and do the works in default. Now, if we've got a small budget, and I know £100,000 is a lot of money, but in the great scheme of things, it's quite a relatively small budget. That could give us the the comfort to go in, serve the notices, and then if those owners don't do the work, we can go in and either do them in default, but if they're minded to do the work, we can offer them a grant to help them. So it's a carrot and stick approach, really. We're going to tackle absent landlords in the first instance because where we know the owners and they're local people, we're already actively talking to them about their intentions. So we don't want to come down hard on anyone who are actively trying to do their property, but we do want to tackle those ones where there's absent landlords and where we know there's people with multiple premises within the town. So the idea is that we pilot this. If it's successful, we can roll it out to all the other town centres as well, and then we would look to the formal budget process for a formal budget in the future if this pilot is successful. Just to note that on the back of us proposing this 100,000, Welsh Government have kindly offered us £250,000 to give us some support as well in terms of grant and to help to do this project.
Thank you ever so much, Rhian, for running through that, and that you've brought it to life now, so that's really, really helpful. And for me, this is a step in the right direction to see our town centres improve, particularly, as you say, piloting the scheme in Bargoed is a good example because of the high level of empty properties, etc. there. So I think that's a really positive. So thank you for putting some more information around that. Councillor Pritchard.
Yeah, well, thank you, Leader. It's a question for Rhian. I mean, in terms of Bargoed, having walked through Bargoed, many times when I used to work there, I really welcome this, this investment. We all want to see our town centres improve, and I'm glad to see the 100,000 being proposed. In terms of the 250,000 Welsh Government funding you've just stated, is that specifically for Bargoed or going into a central pot? Just a quick question on that.
Yes, that's specifically for Bargoed. It was as a consequence of work we're doing with the Heads of the Valleys task force, because they're looking at specifically initiatives in and around the Heads of the Valleys.
Okay, thanks, Rhian. I think that's significantly good news from Welsh Government. That's a big increase. So thanks for confirming that.
Thank you, Councillor Pritchard. Councillor Stenner.
Yeah, I haven't got any questions, but I do have a comment. I welcome both of these projects. But it would be remiss of me not to mention the Bargoed project, as that is my closest town centre from where I live. And I'm glad to see that the absent landlords will be contacted and hopefully will work with us to bring the empty properties back into a good state and businesses move into them. And I'm sure that residents will also welcome this. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Stenner. Absolutely, I concur with those comments. So thank you. Okay, there's no further indications to speak. I think this is a very positive step for us to move towards approving these two projects. So if we're happy with that, we'll go to the vote now, please. Just waiting for those to come through. My system's a bit slow. Okay, that's been approved. Thank you. And thank you ever so much. Thank you, Rhian, for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so we're moving on to the next item on the agenda, item 6, which is the Welsh Government Prospectus and Programme Development Plan, so the PDP. If I can hand over to Councillor Phipps, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Changes have been made to the way in which the Welsh Government Social Housing Grant is coordinated and allocated amongst partner housing associations and Cyffuri homes. For the first time, local authorities who have retained their housing stock are able to apply for social housing grants from 2021-2022 onwards. To coincide with this change, Welsh Government have also introduced a series of new requirements, including the introduction of a new grant regime and viability model, which calculates the proportion of grant allowed on each scheme, known as the Standard Viability Model, a new programme development plan format, and a requirement for a local housing market assessment prospectus, which sets out the housing needs and priorities in each local authority area based on the current local housing market assessment. The report in front of you summarises the previous process and provides information on the new requirements introduced by Welsh Government, which seek to enable and facilitate the delivery of more affordable homes. Today, Cabinet, you are asked to approve the content of the report, PDP, and draft local housing market assessment prospectus for submission to Welsh Government. I move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phipps. And if I can go to Councillor Cook, please.
Yeah, thanks, Leader. I'm happy to second through this report, and the ambition of Welsh Government to increase the number of low carbon affordable homes is a really good thing. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Cook. And if I could go to Jane, please. Maybe there'll be something else that Jane would like to add further to this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Yes, as you know, the paper has already been to Housing Regen Scrutiny Committee last week, and I should draw your attention to some of the comments that were provided there by members. One member in particular raised a query about how the delivery of affordable housing is monitored, and in particular felt that the report didn't accurately reflect the committee process, that these reports would now be coming through on a regular basis. You'll note in the report that we are due to undertake a new local housing market assessment that will then result in an updated prospectus for Welsh Government early next year, and I can confirm that those documents will obviously come through the full committee process, including to Housing and Regeneration Scrutiny Committee and then onward to yourselves. In addition to that, another member asked about housing need and demand, particularly in his ward, as there was a pressing need for 3-bedroom accommodation. And I explained that, you know, what the prospectus does is provide an overview of need within the county borough based on the 2018 local housing market assessment. I advised that that would be updated, and I also advised the member that, you know, throughout the county borough we still have a very pressing need for 1-bedroom accommodation, 1-person accommodation, and less demand for family accommodation, and that is likely to continue according to our projections. But again, we will provide a further update on that early next year. I should also advise that one of the members raised an issue in relation to the new zoning arrangements that are outlined in the report. You will note in paragraphs 511 to 514 that I refer to the zoning arrangements that we currently had changing now to a regional basis, which will enable and will allow other social housing providers to come forward to Caerphilly and access potentially our PDP and our allocation of funding from the social housing grant. Bronavon have already indicated a wish to do so, and we've advised that we're happy to enter into those discussions because obviously, you know, we're happy to work with any provider that delivers more affordable homes for the people of Caerphilly. What I did also say is that in that conversation with Housing and Regen Scrutiny was that this will become a more competitive process as we ourselves in Caerphilly Homes develop our experience and our capacity to actually deliver against the agenda that Cabinet have already agreed of delivering 400 homes by 2025. So, you know, it is going to become more competitive, and we're ready and obviously increasing and upskilling in preparation for that. But those are the comments from Housing and Regeneration Scrutiny that I would like to advise you of.
Thank you, Jane. That's really helpful. And again, in terms of addressing the concerns of members of the committee, I think you were able to provide a response that we will be looking to do that, you know, through the route through the scrutiny committee route, and also in terms of the updating the type of reports and things that we do. So that is really good news and very positive to hear. So thank you for raising that. Did you want to come back in, Jane?
Yeah, I just wanted to add for members that I'd like to draw your attention to paragraph 5.24 particularly, which notes the schemes that Caerphilly Homes have included within the PDP. You will note within the documentation that there's an allocation of around about 10.7 million to part fund the schemes that we ourselves will be bringing forward now over the next 3 years, and hopefully that number, that value is going to increase. The intention is to apply for social housing grant, match funded, but with HRA monies. And so I'd very much like to draw the attention of members to our ambition, and also, of course, every item that's referenced there in paragraph 5.24, the actual schemes that Caerphilly Homes will be bringing forward, will be the subject of separate reports to Cabinet. So you will get the opportunity to actually look at the detail of that and really delve into some of those schemes that we're wishing to bring forward.
Okay, thank you again for bringing our attention to that. And again, you know, these are really important projects that are detailed in 5.24, so thank you for that. And as you say, they'll be subject to individual reports as and when we need to approve the project going forward. So it is really exciting. Yes, you just talked about our ambition, and yes, we are very ambitious in what we want to do in terms of new homes, in terms of affordable homes for our residents, because you know we've set on this journey now, and it's really important that we start to link in and look as many opportunities as we can in order to help fund that. So this today, you know, actually culminates in that, doesn't it? It gives us that opportunity to step forward and do that. So there are no other indications to come in. I think everyone is very happy with the report, and I appreciate the comments that you made there from the committee as well, from the scrutiny committee. So without further ado, I think we will go to the vote on this one. I'm testing everyone now because I probably didn't give them much time to do that. Thank you, everyone. Thanks ever so much, Jane, for running us through that.
Thank you, everyone.
Just waiting for all the votes to come through. If someone has seen a complete set, then please nod, but mine is slow, my system. According to this, not everyone's voted yet. Lisa, Councillor Phipps?
Yeah, obviously I'm in favour, but I'm having difficulties voting for this report.
Okay, all right then. It's not gone through. Okay, can that be recorded formally then, please? By the minute taker. Okay, that's you.
Yeah, that's recorded, Leader, and it's unanimous.
Thank you ever so much, Emma. Thank you for confirming that. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to the next item then on the agenda, which is the provision of staff benefit and recognition scheme. And if I can go to Councillor Gordon, please.
Thank you, Leader. Good morning, everybody. The purpose of the report is to seek Cabinet's agreement for 1, the implementation of the My Advantages platform by Eden Red for Caerphilly. 2, the proposal to recognise 40 years continuous local government service. Throughout the pandemic, staff from every corner of the organisation have contributed significantly to the work of the Council and to the delivery of services across our communities during some very difficult times. The loyalty and commitment shown by staff have been exceptional, and this report details the introduction of a scheme that, in its own way, gives something back to those who have contributed so much. The benefit scheme may also offer financial support to those who have been affected financially by the pandemic or times of austerity. The My Advantages platform by Eden Red offers a free-to-use online benefit service accessed by the National Procurement Service Framework and makes a wide range of employee benefits, discounts and advice available to public service employees. The benefits are detailed in the report and the brochure at Appendix 1. The platform also enables local business across Caerphilly to promote their businesses and offer directly to our employees, and in doing so provide the opportunity for our staff to access discounts while still shopping locally. Cabinet will be aware 25-year Cabinet CBC and predecessor authorities can be recognised. It is proposed that the recognition of long services now extended to include 40 years continuous local government service as detailed out in paragraphs 5.17 and 5.18. The implementation of My Advantage platform and the extension of the long services awards provides the Council an opportunity to recognise the importance of our employees to offer access to financial benefits which support their well-being. With that, Leader, I'd like to move the recommendations at 3 and the report. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Gordon. And if I can go to Councillor George, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. I'm only too happy to second this report. I think it's quite good. We really is a further extension of benefits available to our staff, so it's really good. Really pleased with it. Thank you. Can I ask one question, or should I come back later?
Well, I'm not sure if an officer wants to just add any more to the report first, and then I'll come back, Councillor George. Thank you. Ed, did you want to add anything further?
Yeah, just a very quick point, Leader. Members will be aware that you're also due to receive a couple of reports at your meeting of the 29th of September. One of those is the wellbeing framework for the council, and I think it's worth us making the link publicly that what you're deciding on with regard to this item is a foundation of the wellbeing framework, which you'll be receiving in a fortnight's time. The other reason that this is before you today is naturally these kind of benefits and discounts could have a particularly big impact on staff in the run up to Christmas, as well as our local suppliers and providers. So we're keen to get this up and running as quickly as possible. And in conversations with Edenred previously, we're probably talking around an 8-week or so implementation time. So there is an onus on this to get this signed off so that we can get cracking with this and give those rewards back to employees that do richly deserve them. Thanks, Leader.
No, thank you ever so much, Ed. Thank you for putting that in context there as well. So great. I think I've got Councillor Whitcomb first, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. It's just a question about the long service award. Councillor Gordon mentioned that we're looking at 40 years. Do we know if there's anybody in the council who's done 50 years? As I mentioned yesterday to a couple of you, I started work in 1973 at 16 for Risco Urban District Council, and with the retirement age now at 66 for my age group, it is possible to do 50 years. And I just wondered if there anybody has done 50 years service for the authority.
I can see Lynn Donovan's hand has gone up, so I'll bring Lynn in.
Thank you, Leader. Not sure, Councillor Whitcomb, off the top of my head, but it's certainly something I can look at and provide that information to you and the rest of the Cabinet.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Leader.
Okay. Councillor George, if you can come back in with your question then.
Oh, sorry, it was a rounded question just asked, really. I was going to ask, it's great that we extended it to 40 years, but would we consider a benefit for anyone who's been here 50 years? Because it is still possible, as Councillor Whitcomb said. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, we'll have to find out about that then, won't we, in terms of this? Okay, thank you, Councillor George. Councillor Whiting.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. My question was about, well, it's good to see that local businesses can be involved in this as well, and there can be benefits for, you know, and discounts for those, if I understand correctly. So I wondered what we are doing to promote this to local businesses and ensure that they are taking part in this if they can, you know, because I think we are the largest employer, and it's I suppose the largest number of customers that they can get from any single employer, which might be a good thing.
Yeah. Ed, would you like to come in on that, or Lynn?
I'm happy to offer a view, Leader. I'm just conscious that whilst what Councillor Whiting has just outlined is absolutely what we will do, as yet we haven't taken the decision, so we haven't really got anything to promote. And I think the other key thing for us in determining when we start to engage those local suppliers is that timeline from Edenred as to when this particular product will be available and in use. So yeah, absolutely right. This, you know, this stands and falls on the degree to which we can promote this across our local suppliers. We will of course do that in due course, but I couldn't tell you exactly when that was going to start just yet, other than we're immensely keen to get cracking. Thanks.
Thank you ever so much, Ed. Lynn, did you just want to make a further comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Leader. I've been in discussions with Rhian Kite, who, as you're all aware, manages the Regen team, and what we've agreed is, should Cabinet agree the proposals in the report today, then I will work with the Regen team and with Edenred in terms of marketing this to our local businesses, and the Regen team will support them in however we can to help them with this.
Fantastic. Thanks ever so much, Lynn. And that was a really good question. So thank you, Councillor Whiting. Councillor Phipps.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I have a question also about the Long Service Award. Will we be looking to backdate that award to anyone possibly who's reached 40 years of service in the last couple of months, please?
Lynn, would you like to come in on that?
Obviously, the report is in front of you today, and the natural step would be, if you agree for it to be in place from today. I suppose that is a decision for Cabinet to make. If you wish to backdate it, I suppose one of the difficulties in doing that, Councillor Phipps, is what date you choose, because you could always miss somebody out, which I know is not anybody's intention with this, isn't it? So, but that is certainly a consideration for Cabinet.
Can I just come back, Lisa, please?
Yeah, come in.
I'm aware of an officer that reached his 40-year milestone yesterday, so he's missed out by just one day. So yeah, I guess I'm just asking because he is such so close, I guess.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Gordon?
Yeah, I think that's a discussion that we can have with Lynn and Ed. It would seem mean, really, if somebody had got to that milestone in the last year or two, I suppose, and we don't offer them, what we're asking. So, I mean, I think we'll have that discussion. We're a caring council, as we've always said. So, I mean, hopefully. I mean, I would be in favour of it, so I'll have the discussion with Lynn and Ed, and we'll see what we can come back with.
Okay, thank you for that then. Okay, there's no other indications to come in, so if I can, Lynn, yes?
Leader, what about perhaps Cabinet considering staff that have achieved 40 years continuous service and are still employed by us? That may be something you would wish to consider. Perhaps you may wish to consider maybe changing the recommendation slightly. Yeah, I don't know if that would help.
Yeah, that's a really useful suggestion, and I was wondering how we would actually do that, because it needs to be, it needs to be considered. And I absolutely get your point about, going back further and further and further, and someone will always be missed in that context. But I think the fact that you've just said that they're still employed, maybe we can address the wording in the recommendation about the long service award. Then I'm just going to look back at the okay, continual service and is still in employment of the council. Can we add that to that recommendation? Is everyone content with that? Yes. Councillor Gordon? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm content. Well, actually, if you look at the recommendation, it says agree the proposal to recognise 40 years continuous local government service. Yeah. So really, it is already there as such, because we're recognising, I suppose, anybody who's 40 years continuous service. So, and I think it's important. It is already within the recommendation.
I think it's important to have.
It's how you read the recommendation, I suppose, what interpretation you get from it.
Yeah,
I mean, I could read it that anybody who had 40 years continual local government service, providing they still employed with the authority. Perhaps we can add that bit on. Well, otherwise, we will have people from years ago coming to us asking for something, and they no longer, providing they still employed with the authority. If they've achieved 40 years service, I'd like to add that a little bit on the recommendation if everybody else is happy with it.
Yeah, if you recall, Colin, what I said was agree the proposal to recognise 40 years continuous local government service and is still in employment of the authority. That's kind of what I proposed, and everyone nodded. So I think we were there anyway. So I think if everyone's content with that wording, because I think we have to be quite specific around that. So is everyone content with that? Which is ultimately what you proposed as well, Councillor Gordon. So yeah, okay, brilliant. Thank you. Then if that can be amended in the recommendations, and we'll go to the vote.
Lisa, again, I can't vote, I'm afraid, but I'm fully in support of this report.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Phipps, and we'll record that then verbally. Thank you, and if Emma can make a note of that. And in that case, that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda then is the freedom of the borough for our Olympic medalists. Now, I don't think I need to say too much in terms of what we've already done in relation to acknowledging the fantastic achievements of our two Olympians recently in terms of the drive-through, both Ystrad and Blackwood Town Centre. That was a fantastic success, and I think the fact that so many people came out to welcome them home and to celebrate with them their absolutely fantastic sporting achievements. So for me, to bring the freedom of the borough report today to Cabinet is an absolute honour to do that, because I think it's the right and proper thing to do. We had many calls on social media with people as soon as they won their individual medals, you know, saying they need to have the freedom of the borough. You know what? And it is the right and proper thing to do. We have that provision under the Act to do that. And I think, you know, I don't think there'll be anyone across the borough that would or anyone in this Cabinet rather, that would think that we shouldn't do this, because I think it's an absolutely positive step for us to recognise the work of and the commitment to each of their individual sports. So this is a great pleasure that I move this report. If I can hand over to Councillor Pritchard.
Yes, thank you, Leader. Yeah, very happy, obviously, to second the report. I think the Olympians were absolutely fantastic. You know, during the recent summer, it was a pleasure to watch the both Laurens compete, and it was also a pleasure to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch. I think it was the semi-final. And the last time I did that was when I watched a Tyson Fury fight. But it was fantastic. It was great to see on social media the you know, the drive-throughs in the respective towns. It was good to see the pictures also of the event held recently. So without further ado, I'd like to second the recommendation. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you ever so much, Councillor Pritchard. Again, absolutely, it is something that, you know, we have an opportunity to give public recognition of their achievements, you know, and this is what this report is setting out to do. So if there's no other comments, I think we'll go straight to the vote, because absolutely this is a no-brainer. Councillor Phipps?
Yeah, I was just about to raise my hand, Leader. Yeah, I fully support this report.
Okay, still waiting for one. That's it. So that's absolutely unanimous, and thank you everyone for supporting that for us today. And as you know, that had cross-party support as well to go forward for that. So I thank both Councillor Etheridge and Councillor Mann for their support in this report. So thank you. In that case, I think we've come to the end of the meeting, and therefore I declare that the meeting has now ended. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Leader.
A quick word, Philippa.